wielding power. Yeah, put on the sword, put on the armor, get ready. It's a tough world out there. A lot of it is that non-substitutability. Like, oh my gosh, what a word. They made that up, and it's one of these things that, okay, it's a cool word. But what it means is the fact that you want to make yourself so valuable that there's nobody that could ever replace you because you are awesome, like really awesome. Okay, but the reality is, make certain that nobody can substitute for you because you're that expert. You're that one that knows where the bodies are buried sometimes, or whatever the process may be, but you want to increase the ability so you can have access to the resource. Make certain that you're the expert as how to control that resource, and you want to make certain that you develop your own personal brand. I've seen people like that. I've used people like that in the aspect of going to them for their knowledge base because they have their own personal brand. They have their certain amount of charisma. They're fun to talk to, but they know their material. Once upon a time, I had a sales rep that came in, and he was one of the most pathetic salesmen I've ever seen in my life. He was grossly overweight. He wore ugly clothes. He had short ties that had ketchup and mustard on them. He had a beard that was matted, and then he had a hole in his throat from throat cancer. And when he talked, he had to listen closely because he talked only on the out breath. But he was the smartest salesman I ever dealt with. He would come in and I would say, can I have this? Can I have this? He was popping things off the top of his head. He had catalogs sitting there, boom, boom, boom. He said, or open them up. I could see that on the iPad, all this over here and everything else. He was the best salesman I ever had. And despite that whole outward appearance thing, I didn't care what he looked like because I was business to business buying. I was buying product that I needed to operate my business best. When another guy came in, polished suit, he had a pressed shirt, he had cufflinks on, nice sharp tie. It was okay. I bought stuff from him a little bit just to make sure I had a backup in case the other guy couldn't get anything. But I always relied and looked forward to the one guy coming in because he was a brilliant salesman, and there was nobody I preferred to work with because he was on the spot. He got fast delivery and he knew what he was talking about. I valued his knowledge. He was a non-substitute person because of the fact that his knowledge base. Cultivate that type of persona, because in this case, I didn't care anything about how he looked. I just cared about the fact that he was a great salesman that knew his product inside and out. Be that person, be that one out there that people can look at you as being the person that you go to. Centrality, sometimes the interdependence with the power holder, people view you and the power holder as the same person. That works too. And then how many and how quickly others are affected by you, you can have that impact. Be visible, make certain that you control and others view you as a valued resource. Try to help them be successful as well. And the social interaction, always use the power symbols, things that will sit with, in my case, board members or other executives in the process. On discretion, free to exercise judgment in the process, and make certain that you watch yourself and that you don't give too many exceptions to the rules. Now, a couple things on consequences of power. There's a type A about, I feel empowered. I have power over myself and freedom in my job. I love it. You have a higher motivation, and sometimes you have too little empathy for others, and you tend to rely on stereotypes that people beneath. You don't ever want to do that. You're never over anybody regarding status when it comes down to that, because at the end of the day, we all take breaths out of the air that's around us, and we all stop someday. So make certain you don't get so full of yourself that you forget who you are, that you're made of the same material that everybody else is. Power over others, that sense of duty and responsibility. Avoid the aspect of stereotyping. Focus on dignity and respect for everybody in the workplace. That'll get you an awful long ways, because all those people, they'll remember you for years to come. You know, there's an old saying out there, and old sayings end up being old because of the fact they're so true. This old saying is, nobody's going to remember your workplace, the salary, or the job itself. They'll remember how they were treated. You ought to be that person that treats them spectacularly, and that will give you a sense of power because they're going to remember who you are, and someday they may repay that favor in the kindness you exerted in the process. Social networks, connecting through forms of interdependence. I mean, look at the different interactions over here. The social capital, sharing the knowledge, opportunities. I'm involved in quite a few things. I built multiple different academies, about 3 different academies in different topics. I worked on building people, trying to build them up. And a lot of times it's come back to repay. Sometimes it hasn't, but it doesn't matter. I'm not doing it all the times for the rewards I can receive, except for the knowledge that I help people prosper and thrive in the process. So it depends what your values are. Networks offer 3 power sources. One is the information. You become the expert, okay, by gathering information or giving information. You become more visible when you're out there and people see you active, and you gain more reference power the more they get to know you. So you got 3 different opportunities in social networks. So you have a lot of different aspects of the strong ties, weak ties, and many ties. It just depends what you want. On the strong ties, work to refine that and build it. Sometimes you want to get some of your high influence people that have an impact on your organization and work with them on a very personal basis to make certain that you have them and have their ear out there. I had one of the world's greatest executive assistants once, and she says, my job is to make certain that I'm going to make you successful. She would go out there and she'd listen to the gossip. She would give me a heads up on gossip, and people knew what she was doing because she didn't hide the facts. Is I want to tell David on this, just in case. So just in case, she would tell him, and I could follow up on things. And I was a much better person because she was a very personable person. She was out there, people like talking to her. That helped me a lot be a much more effective executive in the process. So sometimes you have acquaintances that you come across. Try to sit down there and put them in your phone so you have contact information, because you never know when you may need them. And if you can, increase your overall network ability to make certain that you can deal with different things as they come up, just in case you have it in that field or that area. 3 centrality factors, the thing we call betweenness, okay, where you're connected to other people, and then that degree of centrality, and that you are the center of a lot of different aspects of it. And then really on key people, work to make certain you have a strong connection with them. The aspect of social networking, it's been around since well before the iPhone. It's been around for centuries because of the fact that people wanted to get to know people personally and have that human connection with them, just in case something was needed long-term. So, unwielding power, make yourself invaluable, have a personal impact, have an other person impact. So that way, not only is it just about you, it's also about them in the process. And on the social networks, the 3 things, use them for information, for visibility, and for reference power. Take care.